One of the differentiators between us and most government contractors is being able to offer a very high level of job stability. Over the last 30 years, we've lost 2 employees who have lost coverage from a contract that we weren't able to, redirect and put them on another contract doing similar work. It's a point of pride for us. It's certainly something that we value, and that's employer loyalty to our employees. So we go to great lengths to provide them with a lifelong career opportunity.
Welcome to Security Cleared Jobs, Who's Hiring and How, the podcast for cleared professionals looking for new opportunities and career advice. We go behind the scenes with recruiters and hiring managers from leading cleared employers to uncover the information you need to make a smart career move. Get ready for insights from this week's guest and your hosts, Kathleen Smith and Rachel Bozeman.
Well, hello, everyone. It is so great to be back in the recording studio, taping a new show for you and you. Oh, yes, and you. With me today, I have a fabulous, pretty amazing, and downright incredible co-host in my friend, Mr. Bob Wheeler. So thanks for, first of all, being willing to co-host with me today, Mr. Wheeler.
Hey, I always love an opportunity to jump on these podcasts and do a little co-hosting with you, Rachel. So tell me, who are we talking to today? What are we going to learn about?
Oh, we're going to learn a lot. And we have a fantastic guest today. And it is Mr. Charlie Miles, who is the Talent Acquisition Director at Elder Research. Welcome, Charlie.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Well, we are so glad you're here. And before I ask my first question, I have to stop and say thank you for your service. As I understand, you bravely served with our Marine Corps.
I did. I spent about 20 years altogether in the Marine Corps, serving primarily as a C-130 pilot.
Well, we are super thankful for that. And thank you for spending some time with us and sharing a little bit about that backstory, because that's what I'm going to ask you about, Charlie, your backstory. So I know you have an interesting kind of career journey, maybe starting with the Marines and then bringing you over there to Elder Research. Tell us about that career journey.
Yeah, well, I didn't join the Marine Corps to be a recruiter, but I kind of, during my journey, fell into it. Started out as a pilot, but I got assigned to Marine Corps recruiting duty, officer recruiting specifically. I did very well at it and kind of discovered a hidden talent, and I very much enjoyed what I was doing. So when I got out of the Marine Corps after 20 years, I decided that rather than going to the airlines like most of my colleagues had done, I would make a career pivot and go into corporate recruiting. That's what I ended up doing. Really different than what I had imagined I would be doing following my military career.
I will have to say, you are the first person I've met that is in the recruiting space that started as a pilot. I thought I had heard everything.
It is not common, that's for sure.
I was with the Marine Corps as a corpsman for 20 years. I rode in some C-130, so thanks for the lift there.
You betcha. You bet.
But Elder Research is kind of a unique gig in the contracting world. Can you tell us a little bit more about Elder Research as a company?
Elder Research is kind of one of the best kept secrets, I think, in government contracting. You've probably never heard of them. We're a small government contracting firm. We focus on data science, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. Those are our sweet spots in the government contracting space. We've been around for about 30 years now. We support contracts in the Defense Department, also within the intelligence community, some federal civilian agencies. We also have a commercial business unit that supports some well-known brand names in the restaurant and consumer goods industries.
So a little bit of something for everybody.
Yeah. And to this audience, a lot of our openings are in the cleared space. So we are supporting contracts that require individuals to possess clearances. And those are, again, primarily in the defense and intelligence communities.
Very cool. Well, I'm going to park it there, or land the plane, if you will, for just a minute and talk a little bit about kind of those skill sets that you're hiring for. So I know you kind of mentioned some of the space that they're in, but what are those particular skill sets or maybe job titles that you're most frequently looking for at the moment?
Our company is all about data science, AI, and ML. And so that's where those job opportunities are going to primarily lay. We're hiring a lot of data scientists, data engineers, and data analysts, as well as some software engineers. So the skill sets that go along are pretty typical data science skill sets. We're looking for individuals that have some programming languages like Python, R, SQL. We're looking for strong backgrounds in statistics and mathematics. They need to know how to do data wrangling, have experience in machine learning, data visualization. Some of those tools are Tableau and Power BI and Click, experience with cloud computing and big data technologies. And for those software engineers, full stack development and system design and architecture. So that in a nutshell is primarily what we're looking for. It's going to be data science related.
Very cool. Now we know what you're looking for, but let's talk about where you're looking for these folks. So I believe about 75% of your positions require that you live in the DC metro area. But maybe I heard a little rumor, there were some rumblings that maybe there might be some remote or hybrid opportunities. Tell us a little bit more about what's available there at Elder.
Yeah, I mean, that's correct. The majority of our positions are in the national capital region. Many of those positions actually allow for hybrid or remote work. We don't always get to decide where the work is done. The government decides that for the most part. But many of those positions are actually still remote or hybrid. And even when they're remote, just for the sake of career progression and job stability, we still even like to hire individuals who are from the Northern Virginia or DC or Maryland areas so that when they come off contracts, they have an opportunity to roll into another contract that we might be supporting, in the area that may not have the same flexibility in terms of, where the work's being done. Maybe they have to come in to the office. So that just allows us to really have a higher level of job stability. We focus really hard. And I think that's actually one of the differentiators between us and most government contractors is being able to offer a very high level of job stability. Over the last 30 years, we've lost 2 employees who have lost coverage from a contract that we weren't able to, redirect and put them on another contract doing similar work. It's a point of pride for us. It's certainly something that we value, and that's employer loyalty to our employees. So we go to great lengths to provide them with a lifelong career opportunity. And, job stability, as you know, within the government contracting industry is something that you don't necessarily get a lot of. So it's great that we're able to offer that.
That's really great stuff there, Charlie. We talked a little bit about all the different things that you do, Elder Research. You ran through a long list of different skill sets that you're looking for. I'm curious if we could kind of drill down a little bit more on what are the hard to find aspects of some of those positions. Are there specific positions? And also, we didn't talk about the clearance levels. I mean, I've met your team at I think 4 of our cleared job fairs this year, all of which were the poly only events. Are you only looking for poly cleared folks? Do you do all the clearances?
We're actually recruiting for all clearance levels. We have work with Customs and Border Protection, for example. Those positions require typically a CBP background investigation, or they offer a reciprocity for a DHS suitability clearance, or even a DoD TS or higher clearance. Probably the most difficult positions for us are those full scope poly positions, though, supporting the intelligence community in Maryland in particular. The challenges associated with that are one, the work requirements. You're required to be on site. You're working in a skiff. And it's a really small talent pool as well. We've got to go and find them and introduce them to our company.
So, something that does my little recruiter heart so good is to talk about what the company brings to the table in terms of culture. And you kind of mentioned that's a differentiator between different organizations, is that culture. So, I'd like to give you the platform and the stage here to talk a little bit about Elder Research's culture and what does that mean and why would people want to come and love to work there?
Yeah, and I mentioned it was kind of a key differentiator, particularly around job stability within the government contracting space, but it goes far beyond that. Of all the companies that I've worked with in my post-military career, Elder Research has certainly been the best and nicest company that I've worked for. It's a small company. We have about 165 employees. everybody knows each other. You're just not a number. When we talk about our core values, humility is actually at the top. And that's kind of an unusual core value for a corporation. You don't hear that a lot. And it really has a positive impact on the culture because you have individuals that aren't afraid to say that they don't know the answer to something and they're not afraid to ask for help. It kind of opens the door for enhanced collaboration, I think. And it also just makes for a really nice work environment because knowledge is a shared commodity. Everybody's trying to help each other out and come up with the best solutions that we can for our customers. We also have a leadership philosophy of servant leadership. That's basically where the leader serves the team and provides them with everything that they need to be successful. So that philosophy permeates the entire organization and kind of creates a partnership with the employees for their careers. We're just not considering that candidate for a single contract. We're evaluating them for a lifelong career with the organization. So I say it all the time. We hire for a career, not a contract.
Hey, before we go to the next question, Charlie, like I said, saw you guys 4 job fairs in the last 6 months, and everything you just said, that really comes. I just got to say that really comes through. I see that at your job fair team, the humility aspect. It was great to hear you explain that because I was seeing it in my head exactly the way I've seen that your organization reacted to job seekers and things like that at the job fair. So I love it to see people walking the walk, not just talking the talk. But let me get to my real question. I've heard that, Charlie, you've got the 4 C's of a successful job search. Break down these 4 C's for us.
So I created what started out as a military job seeker guide, and I would share that with everybody I connected with. And within that guide, I had the 4 C's to evaluating a job opportunity. What's most important in a job? What you should be looking for in a job. So the 4 C's are compensation. Obviously, that's very important. Everybody wants to get paid what they deserve and receive a fair salary. And you can't forget the benefits in there as well. When I was transitioning from the military, I didn't even think about benefits because the military comes with a nice package of benefits and you don't really have to worry about it. So anyway, that's compensation and benefits is the first C. Then culture. We talked a little bit about culture, obviously very important. I think it's just as important as compensation. You can't pay me enough to work in a toxic work environment. I'm not going to be there for long. I'm going to be looking for another opportunity. The next thing is contribution. I'll use an example. I joined the Marine Corps because I wanted to do something important. I wanted to make a difference. And people want that with their jobs. They want to have an impact, do something important, be a part of maybe something that's larger than themselves. And you have that opportunity with a lot of government contractors, for example, supporting our national security. So doing something important, making a difference, having an impact, that's an important consideration as well. And then the final C is commute. And that's really just a subset of work-life balance, but 4 C's sound better than 3 C's and W. So I went with 4 C's. And commute here in the National Capital Region is obviously a very important consideration. Because you could spend as much as 4 hours of your day on the roads trying to get to and from a job, depending on where you live and the state of the traffic on any given day. So work-life balance, extremely important. You don't want to burn out and you don't want to spend, too much of your life traveling to and from work on the roads. So those are the 4 C's. And as a bonus, I also have the 4 P's of a successful job search. And those are preparation. You got to do your homework. You got to prepare for your interviews. You got to study the companies. You got to learn about them so that you can have a meaningful conversation with those recruiters and interviewers once you meet them. Also, the second P is people. Networking, so important. Probably something I undervalued during my military transition is the power of networking. Turns out that I've gotten most of my jobs through networking since I've been out of the military. The third P is practice. You got to practice interviewing, do mock interviews, practice with your spouse or friends before you actually do it live. It's, I think, a learned skill. And then the last P is passion. Focus on jobs in areas that you're passionate about. So not only do I have the 4 C's, I've got the 4 P's. So I've got it all covered.
I love it.
A little something for everybody. I appreciate that. C's and P's, my friends. Well, in the pre call, you had mentioned seeing an increase in applications from AI platforms. Tell us a little bit more about your thoughts on that as we know that those continue to creep up and just kind of what are you seeing and what are your thoughts around that?
Not seeing a tremendous amount of AI applications. And don't get me wrong, I work for an AI company. I love AI. I use it every day. It helps me be more efficient. It helps me draft better emails and create presentation outlines. And there's so many other things that you can do. And I think it's a great tool for job seekers as well to help them polish their resumes, perhaps tailor their resumes as well. But you don't want to have AI just blindly applying to hundreds or thousands of positions for you. I think you want to be intentional with your job applications. And I think you want to be applying to positions that you're genuinely interested in, for which you are well qualified. And I say well qualified, you don't have to be 100% qualified. You don't necessarily have to meet every requirement. 85 to 90% of the requirements are fine. But if you have AI just applying to positions for you, it's probably applying to a lot of positions that you just don't have any interest in. And you're really kind of gumming up the works for the recruiters because they're having to sift through all those resumes. Fortunately, we have AI within our applicant tracking systems that help us evaluate, screen, and match candidates that are coming in. But I think you're probably just wasting time if you're using it to just blindly apply to positions. And I wouldn't recommend doing that because it's not really going to help you connect with a position that meets those 4 C's that would allow you to have a very high level of job satisfaction. And the other thing that we see, and I've seen this as well recently, is candidates using AI to answer some of the written pre-screening questions. Again, I think it's okay to use AI to help you better articulate your answers. But if you don't understand the concepts behind those answers that you're using AI to answer for you, it's going to come out when you get to the technical interview. So, we have seen that where individuals have used AI to answer a question and get through the written screening phase. And they get to the technical interview, and there's a large disconnect between what they are able to articulate in their written answers and what they're able to articulate during the interview. And it's just too much of a disparity for us to feel comfortable with moving that candidate forward in the process after discovering that kind of disconnect, if you will, between their written answers and their answers in the interview. So I guess bottom line, it's a tool that you should use to help you be more efficient in your job search and maybe in the refinement of your applications, but don't rely on it to get you through your interview.
We really appreciate those kind of tips on new technologies and the way to properly use stuff, Charlie.
Thank you so much for that. And you've just been a wealth of information, some great tips, some great tricks, and just sharing a little bit more about elder research. So I know our listeners are probably going to want to get in touch with you and your team. So how in the world can they get in touch with y'all?
Well, they can certainly just email me. That's probably the best thing that they can do. My email is charles.miles@elderresearch.com. You can send me an email. And what I would recommend you do when you send me an email is not just ask me to see if you're a match for any of our positions, but actually go to our career site and apply to any positions that you determine you're a match for and that you have interest in and that you're well qualified for. And then when you email me, let me know that you've applied to that position and make sure that when you applied to the position that you customized your resume and you made sure to address all the position requirements of that position description. That way, you make it easy for the recruiter to determine whether or not you're well qualified. So feel free to send me an email, but before you do, please apply to a position with your customized resume. You can apply to the position with your customized resume And when you email me, you can send me that same customized resume, and I could socialize it with the hiring team for you. So I could help you kind of help your resume stand out from all the applicants who have applied to that particular position.
Very cool. You are kind and generous in many ways, my friend. And you also kind and generous to spend some time with Bob and I today to share the story of elder research with all of our listeners. So thanks so much for coming into the studio. Thanks for chatting with us. And thanks for all you do in the community.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure. I appreciate it.
Well, that was fun. Lots to unpack there from our friend Charlie over at Elder Research. So much great information. I love all of the things that he shared about the culture, but I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry if I'm going to steal yours, Bob, and I might. But he had some great advice around his 4 C's. I'm going to stick to the 4 C's, leave some opportunity there for you to unpack more if you want to.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Go ahead.
You knew what was coming, Bob. You knew it. But just really loved that. I love the thoughtful detail that he put into it as a part of a recruiting team to make sure that people were really being deliberate and intentional about their considerations and not just going out there and applying to so many different opportunities, but really digging into the compensation. What's in it for them? Does it make sense for them? Really focusing on the culture. Is it a good culture fit for them? How can they contribute to that organization? And then commute, only because W didn't work with the 4 C's, but really that commute and that focus on work-life balance. How can you see yourself contributing, but also taking care of you in the process? So that was something I really appreciated in addition to all of the other great information. What about you, Bob?
You know what? I thought you might take that.
You knew me too well.
But I have an ace in the hole. So besides the 4 P's he talked about as far as preparation, people, practice, and passion, which were great, I want to kind of go back to your culture thing because I know something that maybe you don't know, Rachel.
Ooh, try me.
Go on. If you want to know about their culture, these guys are data analysts. Check out their website. It's one of the coolest websites out there. And when you go to their About Us page, they've got a whole thing on there where you can look and see how many people are cat people versus dog people,
Wow.
how many people like sports versus reading books. It breaks down their culture so coolly and so well, and it's all in a data analytic way because that's what they do. So I think it's one of the coolest parts of a website I've seen. That was my ace in the hole because that's where I was going to go with it.
Love it. Well, you did well, my friend, and it was a pleasure getting to co-host with you again.
Always.
Thank you, friends, sticking all the way to the very end so you can get all of the great information. Until next time, bye-bye.